Good morning. Today's devotion is from Zechariah 9, verse 9. Rejoice greatly, daughter Zion. Shout, daughter Jerusalem. See, your king comes to you, righteous and victorious, lowly and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. Interestingly enough, this chapter of Zechariah is about the comeuppance of Israel's enemies. The prophet is giving the Hebrews some comfort in their usual situation of being surrounded by enemies. One has to wonder at times if God didn't pick them because they were so oppressed by the temporal world. Or maybe it was because God chose them that the adversary, Satan, worked all the harder to beset them with enemies. Regardless of how it came to be, the chapter is foretelling that God's plan will be what God's plan will be. From the perspective of the prophet and his people, they may suffer, but win in the end. Now, isn't that the storyline for every good versus evil novel you've ever read? The prophet first calls on the nation, Zion. He herald calls the whole people. This is to say that this story is for and about the people as a whole. This is definitely culturally important. The Jews are a culture built directly on the idea of a people. It is important that the community concept be acknowledged. Only after the nation is called does the prophet focus on the city where the greatest story on earth will play out, Jerusalem. The cultural importance of the riding on a donkey seems mundane today, but in the culture of the Old Testament, it had a massive impact on the story it told of a foreign king coming to visit. Riding a horse indicated conquest, and riding a donkey indicated coming in peace. Peace could mean something different from the perspective of that king and of the Messiah of the Hebrew people. For the Messiah, there was a double meaning for that concept of peace. First, the temporal version. It was akin to the king's version in that riding a donkey indicated there was not going to be an avenging knight coming to smite the oppressors of the Jews. Now, I believe it's relatively well known that the Jews wanted an avenging angel to swoop down and destroy the oppressors by the time Jesus came on the scene. They saw the Messiah as a conquering hero. There was not to be peace, but vengeance and wrath. A donkey spoke to the era of expectation of that people. The king was coming to reunite and remove conflict completely. It was not the Messiah's job to avenge, but to bring everyone together. We know that many of the Jews were not interested in that kind of peace. Where was the justification for all their suffering at the hands of their oppressors? Where was the revenge? The second meaning, the spiritual meaning of peace, was the removal of the spiritual conflict that raged in the heavens over the apparent imperfection perceived in God's perfect plan. What was this conflict? It was free will. God gave free will, in my understanding, because it was the only way a creator could ensure that love returned to that creator by the created would be true love. God doesn't want puppets, nor does he want false love. In order for the created to be able to give true love from the heart, free will is necessary. And so the battle between choices began. It rages on today. Yet Jesus is the catalyst for eliminating the conflict. It is his donkey statement that peace, absence of this heavenly conflict, will win out and is on the way. It's not flamboyant to ride on a donkey, but it is the loudest statement that was ever made. Because it's not the culturally expected statement, the impact of that was lost. The value of that fact was overlooked, even by those who should have known better. This is the danger of not recognizing the culture or experience of the people giving the statement. If we undervalue a statement or event because we fail to recognize the importance from the perspective of the speaker, we lose the depth of that meaning. We don't see what heart is in that statement. Today's society seldom understands the import or impact of riding a donkey at that time meant. We have historical distance as an excuse today. The Jews of the day in Jerusalem did not have that excuse, but one just as weighty. They had a preconceived notion. Now, I was recently smacked in the face over not recognizing the weight of a statement made to me by someone I know. I know most of the history of this person. Because it wasn't my own experience, though, I did not assign the correct weight to that statement, or rather, to many such statements. I kept asking for a definitive set of words that spoke to my experience and my history. The story here: understand the true meaning of what is being said, and ultimately what it means to the relationship. For me, it's about understanding someone I know pretty well. For the Jews, it was that and so much more. Know your speaker, and you'll understand better what his experience is saying with the words that may only seem normal. Let us pray. Father, help us to understand that being in a relationship means that we need to know the person we are in relationship with. Help us to weigh their experience against ours and to understand what is being said. In these times when conflict seems to be raging in every direction, help us to realize that we're not here to conquer, but to reunite. Amen.